In 2015, a group of tech billionaires pledged to save humanity from dangerous AI by creating it themselves. They promised to remain nonprofit forever. Today, that company is worth $157 billion, sparked the fastest growing app in history, and completely transformed how the world works. This is the story of OpenAI's stunning transformation. November 30th, 2022. OpenAI released ChatGPT to the public. Within 5 days, it had 1 million users. Within 2 months, 100 million. It became the fastest growing consumer application in internet history. Suddenly, everyone was talking about artificial intelligence. Students used it for homework. Professionals used it for work. Companies scrambled to integrate AI into everything. And the entire tech industry pivoted overnight to focus on one thing: keeping up with OpenAI. But here's what most people don't know. OpenAI started as a nonprofit research lab dedicated to ensuring AI would benefit all of humanity, not just wealthy corporations. They promised to share their research openly and never pursue profit. So, what happened? How did a nonprofit pledging to democratize AI become a company valued at $157 billion? With exclusive partnerships worth billions and technology they keep carefully guarded? Today, we're breaking down the complete story, the idealistic beginning, the pivotal decisions that changed everything, and the controversy surrounding one of the most powerful AI companies on Earth. December 11, 2015. A blog post appeared announcing the formation of OpenAI. The founding team read like a Silicon Valley who's who: Sam Altman, Elon Musk, Greg Brockman, Ilya Sutskever, and others. They pledged $1 billion in funding. Their mission statement was bold: to advance digital intelligence in the way that is most likely to benefit humanity as a whole, unconstrained by a need to generate financial return. But why? Why would some of the world's wealthiest entrepreneurs create a nonprofit AI lab? The answer is fear, not fear of AI itself, but fear of who would control it. By 2015, it was becoming clear that artificial intelligence would be transformative. Whoever developed advanced AI first would wield unprecedented power. And in 2010, one company was racing ahead of everyone else: Google. Google had acquired DeepMind in 2014 for over $100 million. DeepMind was making breakthrough after breakthrough in AI research. Google had the data, the computing power, the talent, and the resources to dominate AI completely. This terrified the OpenAI founders. They believed that if one company, especially a for-profit corporation, controlled transformative AI, it could be catastrophic for humanity. So they made OpenAI a nonprofit specifically to counter Google's dominance. Their charter stated clearly, OpenAI's primary fiduciary duty is to humanity. We commit to use any influence we obtain over AGI deployment to ensure it is used for the benefit of all. They promised to publish their research openly so everyone could benefit. They would share safety discoveries freely. They wouldn't hoard AI for competitive advantage. This was revolutionary. In an industry driven by secrecy and competitive moats, OpenAI pledged complete transparency. The early years focused on fundamental AI research. They worked on reinforcement learning, robotics, and language models. In 2016, they released GIM, a toolkit for developing reinforcement learning algorithms. In 2018, they released GPT-1, their first generative pre-trained transformer model. It had 117 million parameters and could generate somewhat coherent text. It was interesting to researchers, but not particularly useful. But they were burning through money incredibly fast. Training AI models required massive computing power. Top AI researchers commanded million-dollar salaries. The $1 billion pledge wouldn't last forever. And here's the critical problem. Being a nonprofit meant they couldn't raise traditional venture capital. They couldn't offer investors equity or promise returns. They were limited to donations. Meanwhile, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and Amazon were investing billions into AI research, hiring the best talent and building the infrastructure that AI development required. OpenAI faced a choice: stick to their nonprofit principles and risk irrelevance, or find a way to compete with tech giants. March 11, 2019, OpenAI made an announcement that shocked the AI community. They were creating OpenAI LP, a new capped profit company. Here's how it worked. OpenAI would remain controlled by a nonprofit board, but could now raise venture capital by offering investors returns, capped at 100 times their investment. If you invested $1 million, you could eventually receive up to $100 million in returns. But any profit beyond that cap would go to the nonprofit for the benefit of humanity. In theory, this balanced competing interests. Investors could make substantial returns, funding the company's growth, but profit wasn't the ultimate goal. The announcement was carefully worded to maintain idealistic rhetoric while fundamentally changing the business model. They argued this structure was necessary to compete with tech giants and complete their mission. Critics immediately called it hypocritical. Some researchers who joined specifically because of the nonprofit mission felt betrayed. Elon Musk, a founding donor, strongly opposed the change. By February 2018, he'd already left the board, reportedly over disagreements about direction. The shift to capped profit vindicated his concerns. Then came the deal that changed everything. In July 2019, Microsoft invested $1 billion in OpenAI. In January 2023, they invested another $10 billion. The partnership gave Microsoft exclusive licensing to OpenAI's technology and close integration with Azure cloud services. This partnership was brilliant strategically. OpenAI got the computing infrastructure they desperately needed. Microsoft got access to cutting-edge AI that could revitalize their products, but it contradicted OpenAI's founding promise. They'd created the nonprofit specifically to prevent one tech giant from controlling advanced AI. Now they'd made Microsoft their exclusive commercial partner. The justification was that OpenAI retained control over safety decisions and deployment, while Microsoft got commercial licensing rights. In theory, OpenAI could still prioritize humanity's interests. In practice, it created a complex entanglement where Microsoft's interests inevitably influenced OpenAI's decisions. In June 2020, OpenAI released GPT-3, a language model with 175 billion parameters. It was a quantum leap beyond GPT-2. It could write essays, code, poetry, and answer questions with shocking coherence. But here's what changed. They didn't release the model openly. They provided controlled access through an API that developers paid to use. The justification was safety. GPT-3 was powerful enough that unrestricted access could enable misuse for generating misinformation, spam, or harmful content. But it also represented a complete reversal from their founding promise to openly share research. The open in OpenAI was becoming increasingly ironic. November 30th, 2022. OpenAI released ChatGPT as a free research preview. Within a week, it had over 1 million users. Within 2 months, over 100 million. GPT-3 had existed for 2 years, but few people outside tech circles knew about it. ChatGPT changed that by making AI accessible through a simple chat interface. Anyone could use it. Students discovered it could write essays. Programmers found it could debug code. Writers used it to overcome creative blocks. Professionals automated routine tasks. It wasn't just useful, it felt magical. For the first time, regular people could interact with AI that seemed genuinely intelligent. Media coverage exploded. Every news outlet ran stories about ChatGPT. Social media filled with examples of its capabilities and limitations. It became a cultural phenomenon. ChatGPT's success caught the entire tech industry off guard. Microsoft, already invested in OpenAI, moved quickly to integrate ChatGPT into Bing Search and Microsoft 365 products. Google panicked. Despite years of AI leadership, they had no competitive chatbot ready. They rushed to release Bard, which launched with embarrassing errors that cost Google $100 billion in market value in a single day. Meta, Amazon, Anthropic, and dozens of startups raced to build ChatGPT competitors. The entire tech industry pivoted to focus on generative AI. OpenAI had triggered an AI arms race. In March 2023, OpenAI released GPT-4, their most capable model yet. It could process images, passed the bar exam in the 90th percentile, and showed remarkable reasoning abilities. But GPT-4 was only available through paid subscriptions and API access. OpenAI was generating hundreds of millions in annual revenue. Enterprise API access generated massive revenue from companies building AI features into their products. By late 2023, OpenAI's annual revenue was estimated at $2 billion, with projections reaching $10 billion by 2025. The nonprofit dedicated to benefiting all humanity had become one of the fastest-growing businesses in tech history. November 17, 2023. OpenAI's board fired CEO Sam Altman with no warning. The announcement was brief and vague, stating he had not been consistently candid with the board. The tech world was stunned. Altman had become the face of OpenAI and the AI revolution. His firing seemed incomprehensible. What followed was the most dramatic weekend in Silicon Valley history. OpenAI employees revolted. Over 100 of 770 employees signed a letter threatening to leave unless Altman was reinstated and the board resigned. Microsoft, which had invested billions, was blindsided. CEO Satya Nadella immediately offered to hire Altman and any OpenAI employees who wanted to join Microsoft. Investors, customers, and partners panicked. OpenAI's value and reputation rested significantly on Altman's leadership. By Sunday, pressure had become overwhelming. The board negotiated Altman's return. Though details remained murky, the firing apparently resulted from tensions between the board's safety-focused members and Altman's aggressive commercialization approach. Ilya Sutskever, OpenAI's chief scientist and board member, reportedly believed Altman was moving too fast with commercialization and not prioritizing safety sufficiently. The board's charter gave them authority to prioritize humanity's interests over investors or employees. In theory, firing a CEO who prioritized growth over safety aligned with their mission, but the execution was disastrous. The board hadn't anticipated the employee revolt or understood how dependent OpenAI had become on Altman's relationships with Microsoft, investors, and the AI community. Within days, most of the board members who voted for Altman's removal had resigned. Altman returned with even more authority. The crisis revealed fundamental tensions at OpenAI's core. Was it a safety-focused research lab or a fast-moving tech company? Could it be both? Who actually controlled decisions, the nonprofit board or the commercial leadership? The incident suggested that despite the nonprofit structure, commercial interests had become paramount. The board learned that firing a CEO for safety concerns was essentially impossible when employees and investors aligned against them. Today, OpenAI stands at a fascinating crossroads between its idealistic origins and commercial reality. OpenAI is valued at approximately $157 billion, making it one of the world's most valuable startups. ChatGPT has hundreds of millions of users worldwide. GPT-4 powers countless applications across industries. The company generates billions in annual revenue and grows faster than almost any company in history. Microsoft's partnership has made them the default AI provider for enterprise software. But competition intensifies daily. Anthropic, founded by former OpenAI researchers, offers Claude as a serious alternative. Google's Gemini continues improving. Meta releases open-source models that challenge OpenAI's approach. Amazon, Apple, and countless startups invest billions into AI development. OpenAI's technological lead, while significant, isn't insurmountable. OpenAI maintains it remains committed to AI safety, spending substantial resources on alignment research, safety systems, and responsible deployment. But critics note that commercial pressure incentivizes moving fast and growing quickly, potentially at safety's expense. The leadership crisis revealed real tensions between safety and growth. Meanwhile, Meta and others release powerful AI models as open source, arguing that transparency and distributed development enhance safety through scrutiny. This contradicts OpenAI's current approach of carefully controlled access. It raises the question, which better serves humanity, controlled development by one organization or open development by everyone? OpenAI is reportedly working on GPT-5 and moving toward artificial general intelligence, AI that matches or exceeds human capabilities across all cognitive tasks. Altman has suggested AGI could arrive within this decade. If true, OpenAI would achieve its founding mission, but in a dramatically different form than initially envisioned. The company faces critical questions. Can it maintain safety focus while growing this fast? Will the nonprofit structure meaningfully constrain commercial decisions? What happens when they develop truly transformative AI? So what do we make of OpenAI's journey from idealistic nonprofit? It's easy to call them hypocrites who abandon their principles for profit. The contrast between their founding promises and current reality is stark. But the story is more complicated. They faced a genuine dilemma: stick to pure nonprofit principles and become irrelevant, or adapt their model to compete and potentially achieve their mission. They chose competition. Whether that choice serves humanity better than the alternative is genuinely unclear. What's undeniable is that OpenAI has accelerated AI development dramatically. ChatGPT didn't just create a product, it triggered a global transformation in how people work, learn, and create. They've made AI accessible to hundreds of millions of people. They've forced competitors to advance their technology. They've put AI safety on the agenda for policymakers worldwide. But they've also concentrated enormous power in one company with close ties to Microsoft. They've moved from transparency to secrecy. They've prioritized growth alongside, and perhaps sometimes over, safety. The fundamental question remains: is OpenAI's current path the best way to ensure AI benefits all humanity? Or have commercial incentives diverted them from their original mission? History will judge. But for now, OpenAI stands as the most influential AI company on Earth, shaping technology that will define the future. while navigating the impossible tension between idealism and reality, between mission and money, between humanity's interests and their own survival. The transformation from nonprofit to AI superpower is complete. Whether it's a success story or a cautionary tale depends on what happens next.